Well, it seems perfectly simple to me.
Look, are you going to tell me to get married and to have parakeets?
Forget the parakeets and stay single if you want to. It's no business of mine. I'm not the one who started this conversation.
All right. I'm sorry. Okay? Are you angry?
No, I'm not angry.
Good. It's interesting that you asked me about the picture frames. I would have thought you would have asked me about the pornographic playing cards.
Oh, I've seen those cards.
That's not the point. I suppose when you were younger, you and your pals passed them around, or you had a pack of your own.
Well, I suppose a lot of us did.
And you threw them away just before you got married.
Now, look here, I didn't need anything like that when I got older.
No?
I'd rather not talk about such things.
So don't. Besides, I wasn't trying to plumb your post-adolescent sexual life in hard times. What I was trying to get at is the value difference between pornographic playing cards when you're a kid and pornographic playing cards when you're older. You see, it's that when you're a kid, you use the cards as a substitute for real experience. And when you're older, you use real experience as a substitute for the fantasy. But I imagine you'd rather hear about what happened at the zoo.
Oh yes, the zoo. Well, that is if you still...
Let me tell you about why you went. Well, let me tell you some things. I've told you about the 4th floor of the rooming house where I live. The rooms are better as you go down, floor by floor. I think they are. I don't really know. I don't know anyone in the 2nd or 3rd floor. Oh, wait, but I do know there's a woman living on the 3rd floor in the front. I know this because I always hear her crying. Whenever I go in, whenever I go out, whenever I pass her door, I always hear her crying. Muffled, but very determined. Very determined indeed. But the one I'm trying to get to, and all about the dog, is the landlady. Now, I don't like to use words that are too harsh in describing people. I don't like to. But the landlady is a fat, ugly, mean, stupid, unwashed, misanthropic, cheap, drunken bag of garbage. And you may notice that I very seldom use profanity, so I can't describe her as well as I might.
You describe her vividly.
Thank you. Well, anyway, she has this dog, and I will tell you about the dog. And she and the dog are the gatekeepers of my dwelling. The woman is bad enough. She's always leaning around the entrance hall, spying to see I don't bring in things for people. And when she's had her mid-afternoon pints of lemon-flavored gin, she stops me in the hall, she grabs my coat or my arm, presses her disgusting body up against me to keep me in a corner so she can talk to me. Oh, the smell of her body and her breath, you can't imagine. And somewhere in the back of that pea-sized brain of hers, an organ developed just enough to let her eat, drink, and emit. She has some foul parody of sexual desire. And I, Peter, I am the object of her sweaty lust.
That's disgusting. That's horrible.
But, I figured out a way to keep her off. Whenever she talks to me, whenever she presses herself up against me, and mumbles about her room and how I should come there, I merely say, but love, wasn't yesterday enough for you? And the day before? She puzzles. She makes slits of her tiny eyes. She sways a little. And then, Peter, and it's at this point that I think I might be doing some good in that tormented household, a simple-minded smile begins to form on her unthinkable face as she believes and relives yesterday and the day before. She believes and relives something that never happened. Then she motions to the black monster of a dog she has, and she goes back into her room, and I am safe until our next meeting.
It's so unthinkable. I find it hard to believe people such as that really are.
It's for reading about, isn't it?
Yes.
And fact is better left to fiction. You're right, Peter. But the one I'm trying to get to is the dog. I shall now.
Oh yes, the dog.
Oh, don't go. You're not thinking about going, are you?
Well, no, I
Because after I tell you about the dog, you know what then? Then I will tell you what happened at the zoo.
You're full of stories now, aren't you?
You don't have to listen. Nobody's holding you here. Remember that. Keep that in your mind.
I know that.
You do? Good. All right. The story of Jerry and the dog. going to tell you has something to do with how sometimes it's necessary to go a long distance out of your way in order to come back correctly. At least, maybe I only think it has something to do with that. But it's why I went to the zoo today, and why I walked northerly rather, until I came here. All right. The dog, I think I told you, is a black monster of a beast. An oversized head, tiny, tiny ears and eyes, bloodshot, infected maybe, and a body you can see the ribs through the skin. The dog is black, all black except for the bloodshot eyes. And yes, an open sore on its right forepaw. That's red too. And oh yes, the poor monster, and I do believe it is an old dog, it certainly is a misused one, almost always has an erection of sorts. That's red too. Now what else? There's a gray, yellow, white color whenever he bears his fangs, like this. Which is what he did when he saw me for the first time. The day I moved in. Now, I worried about that animal from the very first minute I met him. Now, animals don't take to me like St. Francis had birds hanging off him all the time. What I mean is animals are indifferent to me, like people, most of the time. But this dog wasn't indifferent. From the very beginning, he'd snarl and he'd go for me to get one of my legs. Not like he was rabid, you know. He was sort of a stumbly dog, but he wasn't half-assed either. It was a good stumbly run, like that, but I always got away. He got a piece of my trouser leg. Look, you can see it right there, where it's mended. Yeah, he got that the second day I lived there. But I kicked free and got upstairs fast, and that was that. I still don't know to this day how the other roomers manage it. But you know what I think? I think it had to do only with me. Cozy. Well, anyway, this went on for over a week. Whenever I came in, but never when I went out. That's funny. Or it was funny. I could pack up and live in the street for all the dog cared. Well, I thought about it up in my room one day, after one of the times I bolted upstairs, and I made up my mind. I decided first, I'll kill the dog with kindness. And if that doesn't work, I'll just kill him. Oh, don't react, Peter, just listen. So the next day, I went out and bought a bag of hamburgers. Medium rare, no ketchup, no onion. And on my way home, I threw away all the hamburger rolls, and I just kept the meat. When I got back to the rooming house, the dog was waiting for me. I half opened the door that led into the entrance hall, and there he was, waiting for me. It figured.